Don't get a help desk job. Hi all, my name is Cyril and today I'd like to talk to you all about how you can get your first job in IT and some of the disastrous pitfalls you can avoid. This video is intended for the self-learned or people who have gone through some boot camps or newly graduated professionals. I'll be making future videos on how to learn the skills needed for these careers later. Step one, kind of simple, build a resume. Avoid simple mistakes like typos. I actually, in my previous roles, have been a hiring manager in a lot of my roles. And one time I had somebody forget an L in public on their resume. And I know it's a really stupid mistake, but those kind of things can look pretty terrible. Then also, as far as a resume goes, make it short and simple. Like, don't go 3+ pages. It's kind of crazy, especially in IT. You kind of want to stick to 1 to 2 pages. One is usually better if you can just say, hey, this is my education, these are my jobs. Make sure your job titles kind of align with what you're applying for. We'll get into that more later as well. Step two, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but make sure you dress nice, even if it's an online interview. Don't dress up in a suit if it's not one of those roles. It depends on the culture. But even online Zoom and Teams interviews, you're going to want to dress up nicely. Mostly because those interviews, Zoom and Teams interviews, are going to require camera a majority of the time. They won't always require a camera, but just expect that they will. Step three, Google then practice interview problems for the job title you're applying for. So if you're applying to be a programmer or a data scientist or network analyst, cybersecurity, Google the job title, say interview questions for job title X. Just go over some of the mock interview questions, and then sometimes, especially for like coding, they're going to want practical tests where you're going to do a hands-on either practice whiteboarding out problems, practice going through some of the different algorithms and things like that. And there's actually a lot of code challenge websites. And I strongly recommend for computer science, go through those code exercises. The algorithms they teach and some of the data structures and algorithms are really important to master. This is the major pitfall. Contrary to the norm, don't get a help desk job. Don't go into service desk or help desk unless that's what you want to do. Do freelance work. You can go on to Fiverr or a ton of other sites and do freelance work, contract for really small jobs or big jobs for a number of years, months, whatever you need to do. You can even do that while you're in college or these boot camps. You get paid to learn how to code basically, and it looks great on a resume. Then one of the easier barriers to entry is kind of local government. That's where I found some IT work. Some of the IT work I did was at the state level. And I really think that local government is a great place to start because they're not as competitive. They're not private sector. They're not going to pay as much right out of the gate. But it is definitely worth looking into. Getting a job for whatever field you want in local government, city, county, state. And they're very stable jobs as well. The way they work doesn't necessarily reflect based on the economy. So if you do happen to get a job in help desk, I mean, if you wanted one, great. But the pitfall to avoid is if you fall into help desk, you get stuck or pigeonholed into help desk / desktop support a lot of the time. It can be very difficult to get out. Your title is help desk. So when you put that on your resume, those skills don't necessarily apply as much as like programmer to programmer. Those skills don't apply as much for whatever it is. I mean, yeah, you might know some Windows shortcuts and things like that, but a lot of those skills aren't necessarily important for any of the other roles, whatever your career goal is. In IT, it's a little bit different. I don't know if you've worked in other fields, but in IT, unless you're in a small organization, but most large organizations, even medium, you have to apply to every position. So if you start out as help desk and you want to be a programmer, you can't just talk to a manager and move over a lot of times. You have to apply to that position and then go through the whole interview process and actually be awarded that position. And you're going to be competing against a bunch of other people. So your help desk experience doesn't help as much, even though you're in the organization, as somebody who actually has the experience. If you're at a large company, the easiest way to get out, and these are some of the tricks to get out, is reaching out to the other teams, building a relationship with the hiring managers. You know, reach out to the development team, say, hi, I'd really like to get in development. What do I need to do? What steps do I need to take? What certifications do I need to get into your position? And really build that rapport, because that's one of the few ways you can get out. It's difficult, but it's one of the ways. Another thing you can do is potentially do extra work at the help desk, such as building scripts or improving efficiencies to get your name out there. Like if you can build some scripts that, I don't know, tell you how long before passwords expire, or whatever it is. Those kind of things can help you get noticed, but also you can put that on your resume that you were doing scripting at the help desk. And maybe with your supervisor's position, you might even be able to take on more of whatever role it is, like networking or programming. And you might be able to fudge your job title in your resume, and your supervisor would be able to support that, so that when you do apply to those other roles, it looks like you have a little bit more experience. The other way to get out is to be promoted into help desk lead or tier 2, tier 3, whatever the system is at your current career, your current job. You can go into supervising or management from there. Those are kind of easy ways out without having to do a bunch of extra work. But then if you can't get out that way, you may have to start at step one and do freelance work or internships or some of the other stuff I've mentioned, and basically start at step one. So in general, if you get a help desk job, I know a lot of other people say it's great experience and it gets you in an organization and so on and so forth. I just skip this step. If you can get hired directly into the position you want to be doing, if you want to be doing data science, go into data science, get an internship, take a lower paying job. It's worth it, because you're going to be wasting potentially years of your life getting pigeonholed and then having to start back at step one anyway. And I realize some people like help desk work. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it. If that's not what you want to do, don't do it. But I've known far too many people who can get stuck and can never get into the field they really want to work in. So to recap, this is pretty general advice, but if you would like some help with any of these steps specifically, please reach out and I'd be glad to help. Thanks.